and coil.
So that's good to see you here on Ghana Tonight. I'm Keminni Amanor. Let's get into our top stories now. Tonight, chaotic scenes as party supporters amass in support of Chairman Wontumi. EOCO arrested the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the party shortly after he presented himself to the CID. Also to come, Attorney General objects to Chief Justice Tokonu's supplementary affidavit alleging rights violation, but also requests for a public hearing of the petitions seeking her removal. Tonight, he's asking the court to throw it all out. Plus, also ahead, found containers, yet many unanswered questions. Tonight, Energy Ministry speaks directly about the almost 3,000 containers it traced. Well, those are the big stories. Be a part of the program as we stream on x.com, 3news.com, Facebook, YouTube, here on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. Use the hashtag Ghana Tonight. It will make it easier for me to find your comments. I am Keminni Amanor. Coming up now is Ghana Brief.
The Economic and Organised Crime Office has picked up Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, Bernard Antwi Bosiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, after a visit to the Criminal Investigations Department headquarters today. Chairman Wontumi, who appeared before the CID earlier today to assist with ongoing investigations, was later picked up by officials of EOCO. It is not clear why he has been picked up again, but party supporters started mussing up at EOCO. Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has cautioned members of Parliament that the legislature would not offer protection to MPs who seek to misuse its privileges to frustrate legitimate investigations. He says parliamentary privilege is not immunity from lawful inquiry, neither is it a license to disregard the law. In his opening remarks of the second meeting of the first session of Parliament on Tuesday, he expressed worry that the first meeting of the session fell far below the standard, dignity and honor of a democratic legislature, and cautioned that no misconduct or crime will go unpunished.
Where allegations are raised, due processes must take their course. Parliament will not stand by while members are subjected to unlawful or politically motivated persecution. But neither will Parliament offer protection to those who seek to misuse its privileges to frustrate legitimate investigations. I will not shelter anybody here.
The Supreme Court will hear an injunction application on May 28, filed by Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu seeking to halt the work of the 5-member committee probing her. She argues that some committee members, including Justices Pomwang and Adibo Asiedu, are conflicted and challenges the eligibility of the remaining members. In her affidavits, she claims the inquiry process violates her rights and constitutional provisions. However, the Attorney General is opposed. The Minority Caucus in Parliament has called on the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions, John Jinapor, to appear before the House to explain how the missing containers were retrieved. At a media briefing, Deputy Ranking Member of the Energy Committee, Collins Adomanko Mensah, says the containers were not missing, as indicated by the Minister.
We are calling on the Minister to appear before us in Parliament to give us a full brief of the entire details of what has transpired for the past 3 months when this same issue of missing containers appeared. But we have to make this position very clear that we vehemently oppose that the containers have been retrieved. They have not been retrieved. They have been found. They were not missing.
The general public is being encouraged to report any symptoms of rash to the nearest health facility. The call made by health authorities comes on the back of the increase in mpox cases in the country. So far, 19 cases have been confirmed in 6 regions. The Health Minister, Minta Akando, further entreated the general public to be on the lookout.
Everybody is to report to the nearest health facility, especially if you have come into contact with anybody who has been detected or diagnosed of mpox. I think contact tracing will also help us to contain this disease.
Oh, once again, it's good to have you here. Ghana Brief there. If you just joined us, this is Ghana Tonight. I'm Keminni Amanor. Let's get into a very big discussion, first big discussion for the night. Now, MPP supporters gather at EOCO hoping to secure the release of the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the party. We'll get into that right now. Now, listen, in the last few hours of the evening, what you just saw has been the scene at the frontage of EOCO, where tens of NPP supporters amassed, demanding the release of Chairman Wontumi, the party's Ashanti Regional Chairman. Now, EOCO picked him up after a visit to the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service earlier today. Now, that was in the afternoon. He was there to assist with ongoing investigation, and as part of his bail conditions that he was to appear there today. Now, it is not clear why he is being detained at the moment at EOCO. But we know, again, that on Monday he was officially cautioned for allegedly engaged in mining operations without a license, polluting water bodies, and unlawfully entering a forest reserve. Now, that is what we know the police have cautioned him for. We do not know of any official charges yet, but he's been cautioned for these things. And again, if you joined us yesterday, I'd gone through taking the, painstakingly gone through what, how we got to this point. But the most important thing is what is happening now at the frontage of EOCO, where tens of MPP supporters, including some big wigs of the party, have gathered demanding the release of Chairman Wontumi. We know also that in the last few minutes, his counsel came out to address the press there. And he had indicated that Chairman Wontumi had been taken to the hospital. It's unclear what has taken him to the hospital. Of course, that's medical information they cannot share with us. But we know that as of now, as we speak, he is not within the confines of EOCO. At least that's what Andy Apiakobi tells us. He's not within the confines of EOCO. He's been transferred to a hospital, expected to be taken back. He's hoping that he will be given to the police so that some bill is processed for him. But at this point, he's still within the custody in the jurisdiction of EOCO, so to speak. So those are the scenes. We know that earlier, when the supporters began to gather there, there was reinforcement, and that's why you see the men in military uniform there. Subsequently, the police had taken charge because obviously this was a civilian situation, and the police were there in their numbers also to take charge of it. But let's go back into earlier this evening when they began to gather in front of EOCO. Justin Frimpong Kodia is the general secretary of the party, and he could not understand why this was happening. Take a look.
What's happening right now? Well, as you are aware, Chairman Wontumi was invited by the police report at 3 p.m. So after the engagement, the law thought that he could go on his way going to the house. His car was crossed by about 4 pickups with heavily armed men in that car, and initially, we didn't know where they were taking him until one of the guys that was with Chairman Wontumi made the point that they are taking him to EOCO. So we came to EOCO to ascertain what really the issue or issues are, only for them to tell us that they are still doing their own investigation, and when they are ready, they will communicate to us. So we are just waiting to hear from them as to what their next line of action. That's why we are here. So they have said that we should give them some time and they will get back to us. So we are just hanging around to see what will happen.
Is the time going to be today, or you think, from the look of things, you think it's not going to be?
Well, we are politicians. When these things happen, your guess is as good as mine. At least it is almost 5 o'clock. As you can see, they have closed. Some of their staff are going home, and it's still being held there. So, and I don't know if people are going to do the investigation or trying to put things together when it's after 5. If the intention is to keep him throughout the night, well, so be it. They are politicians, they understand. But if that's how they will want to deal with citizens of this country because their government is in power, well, fine. But at the end of the day, Wontumi is a strong person. He's a very strong guy, and I know whatever decision or whatever frustration they want to put him into, he will survive. We will all survive. But at the end of the day, we live to see another day.
Now, Justin Frimpong Kodia, as General Secretary of the party, now that you can tell from the look of the skies that it was a little earlier in the day. But we know that in the last few minutes after the address, it would appear that some of them, after the address from Council of Chairman Wontumi, who had been allowed to see Chairman Wontumi, came out to tell the gathering that this was a situation that had happened. It would appear that many of those who had amassed there, or some of those who had amassed there, were starting to leave. But listen, let's stay back in time, earlier in the day when the party supporters, the executives, the stalwarts of the party were starting to gather there. Titus Nikwate Glover, who is a former Greater Accra Regional Minister, was also there with his folk. And this is what he had to say.
The media in this country, all too soon, you've gone dump. The NDC, led by the president, his style of governance, that he wants to intimidate we, the members of the New Patriotic Party. You're all quiet. You are not talking. We are not in the dark days. We are not in a revolution. We are in the rule of law. We are guided by the Constitution. So all the media houses, multimedia, TV3, everybody, you've all gone quiet. And these are, please, allow me to flow. Allow me to flow. I'm speaking with a lot of indignation. My heart is bitter. I'm bleeding. But I want to use your medium to assure the government and the NDC that they cannot kill the spirit of the elephant. The spirit of the elephant is so strong and so united. You touch one, you touch everybody. What is the issue? Yesterday he was at CID headquarters. He was investigated. They granted him bail. He was asked to come back, only to finish with the CID and then they bring him here. to continue the same process? Why?
Can you confirm that it's the same process?
What is it about? To me, is a minor. Is it not because of Galamsey? Is it because of mining that they've arrested him?
That for a fact.
You, the media, haven't you been talking about mining? Today, the mining is worse in NDC John Mohammed style. Today is worse.
Very worse.
Worse than our time. And you are all quiet. You are not talking. But NDC executives have rushed into the forest.
Mr. Glover, you know that
they are all there.
He's been picked up because...
What is it about? You, the media, you know.
Unauthorized entry into a forest reserve to undertake mining operations.
As we speak, are people not mining in the forest? NDC people, are they not mining in the forest? Are we in strange land? Why do you want to behave like strangers? They should remove the logs from their eyes before they get the specs. Are people not mining as we speak? Are the executives not mining in the forest areas? And the president and his party and the leadership are all quiet? What is wrong?
Mr. Glover, if you have such a...
My name is Titus Glover.
Yeah, if you have such an information, why don't you liaise with the security?
I will not liaise with them. They see them. It's all over. The social media. They see what is happening. Go through Wasa area. Go through the Inzima area. All over. What is happening there? It's happening. NDC supporters have got to stop soldiers. In Akufado's time, when soldiers are coming, they run. But today they are emboldened because their parties in power and they are destroying the forest. And you pick on innocent soul. When was the last time Unti mind? When was the last time? It's because you want to show him power. Because you want to show him power. We have no problem. We'll cooperate with the law. But what we want to say is that we are not in a lawless country. We are not in a military regime. We're in the rule of law. Okay? So all that we are saying is that any MPP member who is hearing me talking, they should come out.
Yes. Are you saying
we need the soldiers and police in Boku? That is where we need them, not here. In Boku, that is where we expected them to go and provide security. What is that? So from the police, you come to EOCO. Then from EOCO, you go to special prosecutor. Then you go to charge. Is that the case? You want to flex? I just don't understand.
I saw you enter the small building, that's the office before the main building. What exactly was the interaction?
I want to find out what is happening because nobody is telling us anything.
What did you find?
He didn't tell me anything good. He said he's inside, he's being interviewed, blah, blah, blah. And at the right time, to communicate to us. So we told him we are waiting. Because what we are saying is that if you are not careful, here we'll start building up. And it builds up the tension. That's what we're trying to avoid here. Okay. If they want good to me, they should release him to us tomorrow morning. He can come and continue with the interview or the investigation, whatever they want to do.
You think that's going to happen?
I don't know. I don't know because I don't control them.
Okay.
I don't control them. But I'm saying again, the media of this country today, you are all dumb. You are quiet. You are not talking about the lawlessness.
Titus Nikwate Glover is former Greater Accra Regional Minister. I just want to put on record that these unsubstantiated claims around the media and our activities is why supporters of the party continue to attack media people, particularly those of us here at Media General. And that is why shortly after our reporter reported on the 7 p.m. News 360 here, we had to leave because one of them had identified our reporter on the ground and we didn't want the situation to degenerate into whatever it could have been. It has to stop. We're doing our jobs and we'll continue to do so. Now let's get into a moment where there was a bit of a scuffle, a situation at the frontage of EOCO when the supporters gathered over there. But guess who stepped in? Titus Nikwate Glover. Take a look.
Hello, please help us go back a little bit. Hello. Please go back a little bit. You want to kill us? You want to kill us? No. So if you are for the talk. No, it's not nice. It's not nice. If you apologize on behalf of the Why did it come before?
We'll continue to show you more of our pictures from that scene this night. But let's bring in now Dr. Ishmael Norman, who is a security analyst. Doc, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. We've seen the pictures, we've heard the voices from there. What readings do you make into this?
I think the whole approach of the political parties in terms of the work of the security agencies is appalling. What MPP is doing right now is very appalling. You don't know the charge, you don't know the suspicion that EOCO has. When you look at the mandate of EOCO, EOCO has the mandate to investigate economic crimes and prosecute those offenses, and also recover monies retrieved or gained from criminal activity. You have no idea the charge that EOCO is operating upon. So when you assemble in front of the office, you are basically you are basically diluting the image of criminal justice system in Ghana. As if they have kidnapped him, they took him from a public space in front of everybody, and they have brought him to his office, to their office. When you gather there, what are you trying to do? Encroach upon the offices and take him out, or what? It's not the correct way to approach any kind of intervention by EOCO, NIV, or Ghana police. It's not the right way to approach things. We know that we have the right to demonstrate. Civil disobedience is part of our constitutional right. But what EOCO has done, you need to understand. You need to talk to the lawyers, and if they are now trying to get to the core of their suspicion, why do you gather in front of the EOCO building? I said what they are doing is against the law. What has EOCO done against Wontumi? That is against his civil rights. EOCO has the right to arrest anybody, including myself, including you, if I have done something wrong. And they don't need to give me a comfortable time for me to report. They can arrest any one of us Ghanaians at any time they consider to be expedient to the work they are doing. Right. Why do you gather in front of the EOCO building? To do what? That's the question I don't understand. Right. Do you know the charge? Do you know the crime that they suspect that Chairman Wontumi may have committed? I mean, you have no idea. So what is the point of gathering there?
What is clear, Doc, is that they want him released immediately, because according to them, the government of the day is using national security to intimidate and persecute them.
That is just an allegation. You can't prove that. Were you there to see which operator, actor in the government of the day that instructed EOCO to arrest Chairman Wontumi. Even the former Minister of the Forestry actually accused Chairman Wontumi of mining in forest reserve. Honorable Janaport did it. And if they have not gathered information, thanks to Erasmus coverage, which was not intended for this, but because of what they were doing in the forest reserve, any security agency will rely upon that kind of reportage and see if they can retrieve some information that they can use against people they suspect to have destroyed the water bodies and the forest reserves of Ghana. If they think that Chairman Wontumi, who appeared on TV with his solid money gold pieces, that the gold was obtained illegally, they have the right to question him. And if they question him and they don't find anything credible, they will release him. They are not going to kill him. Yeah. They are not going to beat him. They are not going to do any of such things.
Well,
that one, I guarantee that EOCO will not do that to anyone.
Indeed, Doc. But it is also not helping, is it, that the kind of narrative the party leadership continues to push about these incidents, and not just Chairman Wontumi. We have Adenta Komi, a couple others that have also happened around, the same style of arrests or being invited to the police. It is not helping the kind of narrative that the party folk or party leadership are pushing on to their supporters, is it?
It is not correct at all. It is primitive. That's all I can say to that. Because I've never seen it, and I've been to 68 countries in the world, and I've lived in many, many places, including Central Africa, East Africa, and here. And I've never seen this happen, ever. This is so appalling. As somebody running a school that specializes in criminology, this is just horrible. It's not a good thing about our criminal justice system. It doesn't speak well about our criminal justice system. And it's only the political parties. If this country implodes, it will be attributable to the political parties. When the NPP man was saying that if this country implodes, it's the media that will be blamed, I don't agree with him. If this country implodes, it will be blamed on the political parties. They are the main instigators of these big misunderstandings in this country.
Indeed, Doc. Listen, young people will continue to be called upon to show up in places like this in the name of demanding release of somebody supporting a party leader one way or the other. I want you to use the people at EOCO as a point, or as as an example, so to speak, and talk to them about the kind of agitation that pushes them to places like the frontage of EOCO.
Every one of us can commit a crime at any time. And when it happens, to err is human. So to err is human. So when a crime happens or security agencies suspect somebody to have committed a crime, it is not right for young people to rush to the point of the arrest or the place of detention and try to encroach upon the holding place. It is wrong, because every single one of us is capable of committing a crime, and I don't see why we are trying to stop the security agencies to do the work that we pay them huge amounts of money every month for them to do their job. I don't understand it.
I see. Now, on the other hand, will be, the security operatives and how they can prepare themselves so that situations like this do not degenerate into full-blown chaos. What would be your advice?
The language that the NPP agents are using on TV right now is not correct. It's not good. They say that he was arrested at the CID office, like in a Rambo style. I mean, it's a security agency, EOCO. They move with protection. They move with arms. And they are going to arrest somebody. They stop and invited the suspect to go with them. How else do they have to do? They have to they have to go down on their knee and beg Chairman Wontumi to sit in their car to go to EOCO, or what? I don't understand the optics of what the Ghanaian public, especially those that are of the MPP persuasion, not all of them, but some of them, are a bit too agitated about nothing. EOCO is doing its job. I don't work for EOCO. I'm not a consultant to EOCO. I'm speaking purely from a security point of view. Anybody in Ghana can be arrested by Ghana police, EOCO, NIB, when it is due for them to arrest you. On a suspicion that you have committed a crime, they have the right to detain you and to interrogate you. And if after the interrogation they don't see or hear what or confirm their suspicion, you'll be released and you will go home unharmed. So what is the point of the agitation right now?
Indeed, Doc. I mean, more directly to the matter, on the subject of crowd control, we have seen that, we saw the exchange between supporters and the police personnel, and would want those exchanges to remain exchanges and nothing beyond verbal exchanges. What would be the best practice you would advise the security operatives to employ or deploy in situations such as this, so that they themselves do not become a part of the field for what could become a conflict or chaos?
I think if they are demonstrating, they need a permission under the Public Order Act to demonstrate. If they are not demonstrating, they should be asked to disperse immediately. Because the way they have gathered there, it is almost tantamount to illegal demonstration in front of a public office. This is wrong. At this hour of the day, when Fix the Country wanted to do a demonstration during the daytime, we saw what happened in this country. And today, I think that the IGP should give the order. Everybody disperse. If you have a problem, go to court. After all, we've been told the law is the law. If you have a problem, go to court. Don't stand there in the middle of the night and block the road and do all kinds of things. Somebody was even trying to burn a tire. And one of the MPP executives there was saying that some NDCs have been planted amongst them. How do you know that? How do you make such a reckless statement when you have no evidence to support it?
Indeed. So, Doc, finally, just before I let you go, right, if we do not efficiently handle these situations, what could we be up against?
In the middle and at night, when people gather like that in opposition against the government action, it can easily degenerate, to use the same words that you used in the question, degenerate into chaos. Because all you need is a little spark, a little ignition, and a gun will be fired and somebody will die. I hope it doesn't get to that. And that's why I'm calling, so that we de-escalate by dispersing them. If they want to demonstrate, they can go and get a permission under the Public Order Act and do their demonstration whenever they want, because it is their right. But tonight, if I were the IGP, I will make sure they are dispersed.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Norman. We'll leave it here. Ishmael Norman is a security analyst. We've just been looking at that situation that took place at the frontage of EOCO this night. We have looked at it in its entirety. We've also looked at it in the broader context of, the fact that this is not the first time we're seeing party supporters being encouraged to show up at places of such high security value, and they continue to show up there. The party leadership continues to encourage them to show up there. Hopefully, they are listening to Dr. Norman on that matter. But we can now turn attention to other issues. If you're just joining us, this is Ghana Tonight. I'm Keminni Amanor. We're streaming live on Facebook, x.com, 3news.com. and YouTube as well. This is TV3 and this is also 392.7 FM. Let's get into our next story, because coming up, the quickly evolving story of the removal of the Chief Justice, Gertrude Isaba Tokonu. Now, tonight, the Attorney General, Dominic Ayine, has filed a supplementary affidavit rejecting claims by suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu against the process for her removal. Dr. Ayine wants the court to dismiss those claims. Now, this comes ahead of a Supreme Court hearing in only a matter of hours to hear that injunction application filed by the suspended Chief Justice seeking to halt the impeachment process in its entirety. I'm going to bring in now my producer, Dennis Wedam, who's been looking closely at how the situation has evolved over the last few days, particularly today. And, he'll break it all down for us, help us unpack all the information. Dennis, what are we looking at?
Well, this is actually a quick evolving matter. And just this evening, we are learning that the Attorney General has actually taken a bold step, and this time around, he's not filing an affidavit in opposition to the supplementary affidavit. What he is seeking to do is asking the court to strike out that supplementary affidavit. Now, to put things in context, the Chief Justice is actually challenging this process. She's filed a writ of summons. On that, she's actually filed an application for an injunction. In that, she added her affidavit in support. However, because other events have developed after the filing of that process, she filed another supplementary affidavit in support of that application. Now, it is in that supplementary affidavit that she makes certain comments, which included the fact that she was searched before she got into a place, that dates were fixed without notice to her lawyers, and she deems the whole process being offensive to the procedure that is known, and that the petitioners were unwilling to testify and all that. So that is actually the affidavit in question that the Attorney General wants it struck out. Now, the reason for the Attorney General wanting that to happen is simple. He says that the depositions, that is to say whatever is said in that affidavit, is in violation of Article 1468 of the 1992 Constitution. If you look at what has been said in that affidavit, you would notice that most of the things are things that are purported to have happened during the hearing, which we do know is supposed to be an in-camera hearing. So that is where the Attorney General is coming from. That to the extent that the affidavit, the supplementary affidavit, discloses some of those matters, it is offensive to Article 1468 of the 1992 Constitution, for which reason it should be set aside. But mind you, the Attorney General has actually responded to the main affidavit in support. And that is where you see the Attorney General making arguments as to why the prayer for an interlocutory injunction should not be granted. Makes the case why persons like the chairman of the committee, Justice Palmang, should not be taken off, why the issues surrounding or raised by the Chief Justice in respect of Justice Asiedu should not be given an endorsement by the courts, and that the entirety of the interlocutory injunction has been prayed for by the Chief Justice should be thrown away. Attorney General has responded to that. However, it is the supplementary, so that needs to be put on record, that it is the supplementary which talks about matters that's related to what she says she went through when she appeared before the committee.
The mental torture.
The mental torture and all those things. The Attorney General has not responded to that. He actually wants it struck out. And the reason for wanting it being struck out is simply that it is offensive to Article 1468 of the 1992 Constitution. So tomorrow, we are in court. The Chief Justice is also expected to be in court, just so that that application will be heard as to whether... So
just clarify for us, which of the applications will be heard tomorrow?
The interlocutory injunction.
The one where she asks that the process be halted?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
But mind you, there's a substantive matter. But because usually the substantive matter will take a longer time, they will add an interlocutory injunction application so that when it is granted, then the process will be halted, and then the substantive suit to be heard, and then we progress from there. But tomorrow, what is going to be heard is whether or not the court would grant that interlocutory injunction. If it is granted, it means that the process will have to be put on hold, at least for now. If it is not, it means the process will still continue as they continue to hear that substantive suit as well.
Tough decision the Supreme Court would have to...
Yes, but they've been here before. And this, like we indicated the last time, will be the 5th attempt, because we've seen 4 other interlocutory injunction applications that have not been successful. This will be the 5th one. We look forward to see whether this will make any difference.
I see. And you know, again, for me, whatever decision happens, because this is the first one that is directly related to the subject matter of the petition. That is the petitioner herself taking the matter to court, seeking an interlocutory injunction.
Yes, so this is the first time the Chief Justice herself is a named applicant plaintiff in this matter.
Indeed.
But in the others, there were other people who went to the court, but for her interest in some ways.
And remember the decision we read from the Otafo MP case.
Yes.
When the argument for those who, the 3-2 decision was that he could not prove that, you know, he was going to suffer directly if the process continues to go on.
Yes.
We will see the Supreme Court tomorrow determine whether or not the Chief Justice would be able to meet that requirement for an interlocutory injunction.
That's an interesting one. And those are matters that are largely within the remit of the Supreme Court to determine tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow is not too far from now, so we look forward to that particular.
I really can't wait. It will be a very interesting day tomorrow. But thank you so much for bringing us all of this. Let's bring in now legal practitioner Martin Pebu. Lawyer, thank you so much for joining us here. But let's start out from the very latest, because the Attorney General is saying, look, we think that the supplementary affidavit that the now suspended Chief Justice filed is in violation of Article 1468. What do you make of that move that the Attorney General has just made?
It would be extremely useful, right? Extremely useful because, you know, in about, it's not less than 15 years ago. Yeah. Not less than 15. Actually, yeah, almost close to 20 years. About 20 years ago, in 2005, 2006.
Counsel, it would appear you're ahead of me. I was asking about, you know, Dr. Dominic Ayene, he himself also filing his own supplementary affidavit seeking that the supplementary one that the Chief Justice, a lot of supplementary affidavits that as Chief Justice had filed about, you know, that torture she had gone through, be struck out. So my question now is, how does this latest move by the Attorney General come to you, given the context that Dennis has just provided us?
It's normal within Ghana, okay, within our legal system, within our justice system. These kind of applications, they are normal. Yes, we've been doing this for a long while. I'm not surprised at all. No, this shouldn't spook anybody. I'm not surprised. It's just, it's also within the rules. It's allowed that if one party is of the opinion that the other parties, the positions, etc., are scandalous, they are frivolous, they are vexatious, etc. Those are the words in our rules books. That person who feels offended can apply that those provisions be struck out. So allow the Attorney General to also exercise his rights, just like I had said earlier on that the things that the Chief Justice has stated, these very things that the Attorney General wants to strike out. I was saying that to the extent that I've not yet heard the Attorney General's response, we shouldn't begin to comment too much on what the Chief Justice has said, because we have to hear the AG's response before we know what to say. If you haven't heard the other side, you may rush and make some comments that later you'll find out that it would have been wiser to wait. So let's reserve judgment. So the Attorney General may go ahead with his application. Yes, the Supreme Court will rule, and that will guide all of us.
Indeed. And there's no denying that tomorrow is going to be a very significant day as far as that hearing, the interlocutory injunction hearing is concerned. But counsel, hold on for me, because we also know that the majority leader, Mahama Ayariga, has been making some revelations on the floor of Parliament. According to Ayariga, government is getting ready to introduce new legislation to smoothen the process for removal of Supreme Court justices, including the Chief Justice. Take a listen. All right. We'll bring you that sound clip or video clip later. But right now, let's look at it in words. A few things that he mentions: Legal Aid Commission regulations, Supreme Court rules, removal from office of justices of the Supreme Court. Listen, essentially, forget about that. Essentially, what he's been telling us is that the government is looking at new legislation to ensure that what appears to be a rather complex, cumbersome process of removing justices of the Supreme Court, as you already know, one injunction after the other, one concern about the process going through the court back and forth. Some have described that as an abuse of the court. What he has told us on the floor of Parliament is that the government of the day is preparing to review the Constitution and introduce new legislation to allow for a more smoother, more direct process that will prevent and avoid all of these bottlenecks associated with the removal of a justice of the Supreme Court. And that's what he's been saying on the floor of Parliament. So I'm going to bring back Martin now. Martin, you had a summary of what the majority leader, very significant member of this government, if you look at it in the space of things in Parliament, he is the leader of government business, as they are called. He is making this statement, and obviously coming from him will be considered very significant. So here's my question: to what extent is this admission an objective to review the process useful?
It would be extremely useful, right? Extremely useful because, in about, it's not less than 15 years ago. Yeah. Not less than 15. Actually, yeah, almost close to 20 years. Yeah. To about 20 years ago, in 2005, 2006, there was the case of Frankie J. Chum versus Attorney General, where some persons, J. Chum presented a petition for the removal of the Chief Justice, etc., right? And then, so long story short, the part that concerns your question is that the Supreme Court itself saw that Article 146 was too skeletal. Naturally, we couldn't have written the whole code for the removal process into the Constitution. So the Supreme Court made a call that the Rules of Court Committee, when we say Rules of Court Committee, it's also in the Constitution. It's provided in the Constitution that when we want to make rules for the functioning of courts, etc., same should be done by the Rules of Court Committee.
Council, I apologize to interfere with your thought pattern again, but I have to take a much-needed break. When we come back, we'll look at this issue and whether or not, listen, the same government that is saying that we want to follow the process is also faulting the process and saying that perhaps we should review it, whether or not it appears counterproductive at this time, and what processes they would follow to be able to do this. And again, a question of if it can have a retroactive, effect with regards to the removal of Chief Justice Tokonu. Don't go away. We'll be right back. on 392.7 FM. Let's finish our conversation with lawyer Martin Kpebu. We're discussing the latest move by the Attorney General asking the courts to throw out a recent supplementary affidavit filed by the now suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu. Counsel, so I was saying that, could these changes that the majority leader has talked about on the floor of Parliament, could it be made through Parliament and applied to the current case as we know it today?
No, it's too late in the day. It's too late in the day. At least from where I sit, because remember that from what Mama Yarga is saying, for each of the proposed legislation, this one, like this rules of court committee, this will come in the form of a CI, etc. You need to lay for 21 sitting days. Now, that now that Parliament is come, it won't be long. They will go on recess again, right? It doesn't appear to me that all of this can be finished within this very term. Though Mama Yaga has expressed the conviction, but remember that we have not seen the rules. So, and I've not seen any advert anywhere about stakeholder consultation. So remember that Godfrey Dami says in the previous administration, they were left with stakeholder consultation. So it means that this government will have to go through the same. Apart from stakeholder consultation, and let's not rush it. Look, the people in government alone don't have all the knowledge in the world. So at a point, this document will have to be shared so that other lawyers will also weigh in. So we don't need to rush it. We don't need to. So it must go through a public debate, kind of stakeholder consultation for citizens to weigh in before it's laid. And even in Parliament itself, before they lay, they have the pre-laying procedure, which even though not expressly provided in the Constitution, sometimes at the pre-laying stage, the other members of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee also make inputs. And sometimes even during the pre-laying consultation, based on what they raise, you even find out that the CI or LI has to be taken back. So it's not laid. So usually they don't lay it automatically for the 21 sitting days to start counting. No, there is a pre-laying that has to be done with the committee. And the committee will also make their own input. So the key thing is that it's good that Majority Leader Mama Yaga says they want to pass it. But the first thing is that make the document public. You see, make it public. Let's weigh in. Then from there, they will do the pre-laying before the actual laying for the 21 sitting days to kick in. And by the Constitution, after the 21 sitting days, if nothing is done to shoot it down by 2/3 majority, then the CI will pass into law.
Very well, Counsel.
So for me, it looks long. It's not something that can be done in 1 or 2 months. No.
I see.
By the time the public finish commenting, you see the kind of changes that they may have to make to their document.
Very well, Counsel. Leave it here. We'll continue another time. Thank you so much for your insight on the subject matter. But let's turn attention to our power sector now, because new revelations around ECG's logistics scandal has raised new crucial questions. Ongoing investigations have uncovered nearly 2,500, nearly 2,500 of ECG's missing containers, about double of what was presumed to be missing. But tonight, it is the minority caucus in Parliament that is unimpressed by the announcement. Now, caucus members want the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, to appear before the House and explain how the missing containers were retrieved. Now, I wish I had time to show you that, but basically that is what the minority caucus is asking for. Let's take that straight to Richmond Roxon, who is spokesperson for the Ministry of Energy and Transition. Richmond, you hear I could tell you that the minority caucus is asking your boss, the minister, to appear in Parliament and tell them how you were able to retrieve 2,500 when you told the Ghanaian people it was 1,300 containers that were missing. Hello, Richmond, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers.
Indeed, so fantastic. Let's talk about the why or how.
The first point that has to be made is that the initial figure of 3,000 containers was provided by the opposition during the transition period to the minister. That figure did not come to the minister. That figure moved from the opposition to the transition team, that ECG had 3,000 containers at the port which had not been cleared. Upon assumption of office, the management of the Electricity Company of Ghana briefed the minister, and they provided a contrary figure of 2,500 containers. It was at that point that the minister, due to the inconsistencies, set up a committee to investigate these matters so that they can bring a finality to it. Fortunately, the committee put up their investigations, physically audited the containers, and could only account for 1,130, with 1,300 missing. So all that data did not come from the minister personally. That data, one, came from the opposition, came from ECG, and also came from the committee that the minister set up. Subsequently, what has happened is that an interagency committee has been set up, made up of national security, made up of Ministry of Transport, ports, customs, and the Ministry of Energy. What that committee has done is that they have been able to trace the various containers that have been assigned to ECG, and that figure is at 2,687.
Now, that's why I come in, Richmond, because I'm out of time. When you say trace, it is different from being in physical possession or possession of the containers. So which one is the ministry telling us? Do you have the 2,500 containers, or you have only traced their whereabouts?
Point in time, the security agencies are in charge of 2,583 containers. They are physically in charge of those containers. And that is as a result of the investigations that were commenced by the ministers' committee. At the end of the day, all the minister is seeking to do is to retrieve all the missing containers out there and to ensure the persons who have been found, who will be found culpable, will be dealt with in accordance with law. Basically, that's what the minister has done. It's not the minister who put out these figures. There are bases for the figures that were out there. The final audit, as we speak, has put the figures at 2,687. Those are the traced ones. And the containers in possession of the security agencies as of now is 2,583.
Indeed, Richmond, let's pick this up again another time. But thank you so much for talking to us. Good night. Richmond Roxon there, his spokesperson for the Energy Ministry. This is how we will end our program today here on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. This is Ghana Tonight. I'm Keminni Amanor. I'll see you same time tomorrow here on the program. Do have yourself a very good night. And do join us again. Bye.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso in